Okay, to prove question 34, we have a lot of given information, but if you look at this diagram, we have two triangles, and then we have some sort of quadrilateral. Looks like a rectangle or a square here. So what we're trying to prove, if you look at the bottom, we have that angle U is congruent to angle X, and if you look at U and X, they're angles in these two triangles. So we know we're going to have to prove the triangle's congruent. So therefore, the reason for this angle congruency is going to have to be CPCTC. Looking at these two triangles that we have to prove congruent here, triangle VUZ and triangle WXY, what we have already is side-side in both of them. Side-side. And all we need is that last remaining side or an angle in the correct order. So what we look at our given. Okay, and we have parallel lines. That should be a key that we're looking for certain things. We already have our congruency, our congruent sides marked, and our perpendicular angles marked as right angles. We don't need to say that these are congruent just because they're not part of the triangles that we're dealing with. But looking at this statement that line segment VW is congruent to line segment ZY here, those parallel lines are marked. Remember, we want to think back to our special angle pairs, corresponding angles, alternate interior and alternate exterior. If you look at these angles here, alternate interior to this angle would be this angle here, and alternate interior angles have to be congruent. So what we can say is, let's go ahead and put numbers here. We can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and we can say that 3 is congruent to 4. By the alternate interior angles theorem. Okay? And then we can say that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because all right angles are congruent. Now we are skipping some steps in here. I do want you to know that. But if we didn't, we would increase the number of steps by 4 or 5. So now that we know that these angles are congruent, again, you would say, well, ASS is not a congruence postulate we can use. However, because these are right triangles, we also have the hypotenuse leg congruency theorem, which can be used in right triangles. So now we have enough information to say that triangle VUZ is congruent to triangle WXY by the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. And therefore, the remaining sides, for example, angle U and angle X, have to be congruent by CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent.